They have become just as self-righteous and superior in their own minds as any other fundamentalist. Over the past few years, there have been a number of best-selling books by atheist authors like Sam Harris and Richard Dawkins and Christopher Hitchens. Now, there's some wonderful thinking in these books. There is some very important and appropriate critique in these books. But these authors often go way too far in making their own exclusive claims that demean and denigrate and diminish other people's worldviews and other people's cultures. In doing so, they are sowing their own seeds of division and serving to close the minds of people toward the beauty and the power and the value of religion and ritual and scripture. They are also giving atheists a bad name. Atheists don't really need a lot of more bad publicity. When you think about it, it's an oppressed group in our culture. Imagine an atheist trying to run for president of the United States. Imagine an atheist being up for Supreme Court justice. Imagine how that would go in the Congress and in the Senate and in all the hearings. But being atheist does not have to mean being anti-religious. When people ask me how it is that we have atheists in this church, I tell them that because in our church we're much more concerned about idolatry than we are about atheism, which always gets kind of an interesting look from people when I say that. But it gets their ears to perk up as well. And I explain that idolatry, of course, is when someone worships something that's less than God, that's less than the ultimate good. Whenever someone devotes their life and their best efforts to something smaller than what is of ultimate value, they are committing idolatry. You know people for whom money or power, prestige, fame, and fortune have become the driving force, the highest good that they know. They sacrifice for it. They make it the most significant driving part of their lives. At this church, we offer better alternatives for what makes life valuable and meaningful. But there's an even more dangerous form of idolatry that I want to talk about that we have to be vigilant to watch for. So many religions and religious people worship a God that's too small to be the ultimate good, to be the ultimate God. Too many people worship a God who they believe tells them that only their religion is right and good and other religions are wrong and bad. I'm here to tell you that God's too small. And anyone who's praying to such a God and sacrificing for such a God is committing idolatry. Too many people worshiping a God who teaches misogyny, or are worshiping a God who teaches misogyny or male superiority. A God who teaches religious exclusivism, homophobia. That's not the almighty or ultimate God. No way. That God is too small. That's idolatry. That's dangerous. Such beliefs too often lead to division, superior thinking, prejudice, war, and terrorism. They break up families who could be and should be loving each other. They oppress women and others, and they demean other people's faith. They demean other people's cultures. There's a reason that the first of the 10 Commandments in the Bible is a prohibition against idolatry. Idolatry is dangerous. It's deadly. That's why we need to be much more concerned about idolatry than about atheism. Most atheists I know are kind-hearted, thoughtful people, upstanding citizens who live with moral purpose and high ethical standards. Those atheists who consider themselves humanists are following a tradition of thought that flows from the ancient Greek philosophers through the Renaissance and the Enlightenment and continues today among some of the best and the brightest among us. These ancient philosophical traditions have much to offer any community, as long as their purveyors don't fall into the fallacy of their own exclusivism. We should be much more concerned about religious people who devote their lives to a narrow, exclusive God than we should be concerned about people who doubt the very existence of God. As for me, I like to think of myself as a connoisseur of fine fruit. I like to partake from the fruits of all the trees in the garden. Except, of course, for the one that labels all the others wrong. Let me describe some of the fantastic delicacies that I've found in the garden of faith. Each one of these has shed some light on the path for me, the path toward better living, the path toward better relationships. First of all, the atheists and the humanists, they've taught me to be careful. I'm sorry, he's going to have to leave, the little guy. I was just getting to the best part. Thank you, though. I appreciate that. First of all, from atheists and humanists, they've taught me to be careful to watch out for superstition in religion, to purge religion of such superstition and magical thinking, and to watch out for the idolatries of the spirit that dress up in the garb of religion and faith and righteousness, but that promote ideas of a God that's too narrow. Also, atheists and humanists tend to have a very strong sense of responsibility for the common good. Remember, atheists and humanists don't believe that there's a God that's going to come down and save the world, or a God that's going to answer our prayers. Therefore, they take to heart that it's up to us to do the work right here on earth, to feed the hungry and to house the homeless. Now, from theists of all kinds, from those who believe in God, I've learned the joy of celebrating with gratitude and humility the mystery and awe at the center of our existence. I've learned to cherish a sense of a God that is in each of us, but greater than all of us.